People today need a word from the Lord because trouble will come. Because the Bible said, man that is born of a woman is of a few days and full of trouble. So trouble is on the way. But we need a word from the Lord. David was a shepherd. And David knew about what it took to take care of sheep. So he saw himself as a sheep and God being his shepherd. He says in Psalm 23, he says, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. If people could just hear that, a word preached that the Lord is my shepherd, God will take care of me, he will be my provider, he will make a way for me when times are tough, when money is funny, when it seems like I cannot make ends meet and can't hardly put food on the table. But if they knew what David said, the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. I shall not need because God is my provider. And David said, I've been young and now I'm old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor a seed begging bread. He said, he maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Somebody needs to hear that God can restore their soul when they're down and out and they feel like there's no hope, that they understand that God can restore their soul and renew their strength, revive them, and lead them in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. That God can lead and guide us when we've lost our way, when the devil is fighting our minds and we don't know which way to go, and hurt and pain and disaster and trouble has come, that God can lead us in the path of righteousness to make the right decision for his name's sake. He said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow. When you're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, you need a word. You need a word to let you know that God is able. You need a word to let you know that God said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you, but I'll be there with you to the end of the age, to the end of the world. You need a word. You need a word. You don't need somebody coming at you trying to get your last dollar, your last penny. When you're in trouble and the devil is vexing your mind and fear is gripping your heart, it said, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Jesus said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. He said, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The rod and the staff was to beat back the beasts and the bears and the lions and things that would come and attack the sheep. And so David was saying, knowing that God is my defense, God will protect me. He'll take care of me. So we need a word in these last evil days that what God can do for us, how God can provide for us, how God can make a way for us in our troubled times, and more so as we see the year that's coming. When a lot of things are probably going to change, you're going to need a word from the Lord. You're going to need a word to encourage you. You're going to need a word to let you know that God is able. And the psalmist said, thou prepare the table for me in the presence of mine enemy. You're going to have to know that God can prepare a table for you in the midst of hard times, in the midst of trials, in the midst of scarcity. You're going to have to know you need a word. We need to preach a word. People need to be preaching a word to let people know that troubled times are ahead of us. And we're going to need a word. Not somebody reaching out trying to take every dime that we have. He says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. When trouble comes, anxiety comes, we're going to need to know that goodness and mercy is following us. That's what you're going to need in these last and evil days. And he said, all the days of my life. Somebody needs to hear that. that surely goodness and mercy shall follow them all the days of, even though trouble is coming and is on every hand, that God is with them. And also in the book of Psalms 27. Let's take a look at that. Psalms 27, verses 1 and 2. Also David speaking. He said, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? You don't have to fear anything. You don't have to fear who's in charge, who's in the White House. You don't have to fear anything if you put your trust in God. He said, the Lord is my light. God will order your steps. God will enlighten you. He said, and my salvation. God is your deliverance. God is the one that can rescue you out of situations where it seems like there is no way. And it says, whom shall I fear? We don't have to fear anybody or anything when our trust is in God. The Lord is the strength of my life. God will strengthen you when it seems like you can't take another step, when it seems like you can't make it through another day. God will strengthen you. But you don't know that if you don't hear that. You won't know that God is your light and salvation, your deliverance, if you don't hear that. We need a word from the Lord today. We don't need people just giving us froth or just giving us a little something to soothe us or putting a Band-Aid on a problem. We need a word. He said, and whom shall I be afraid? You don't have to be afraid of anybody or anything if you trust God. You trust God. He said, even when the wicked, even my enemies, came upon me, my foes came upon me to eat up my flesh, to destroy me. People need to know when the devil is coming upon them, to destroy their families, to destroy everything about them, that they're going to stumble and fall. That they don't have to worry about the wicked. They don't have to worry about the enemies. God said, if your ways please him, he'll make your enemies be at peace with you. You need a word in these last evil days. You need a word. You need a rock. And the word is that rock. You don't need to be trying to build on a sandy word, a word that just come to entertain you. And when it's all over, you don't know what was said. And situations arise and you can't seem to get through that circumstance because you don't remember anything that came forth to you that was from God, that was a word from God. And you just left there with the winds blowing and your foundation of sand is just being washed away and you're steady sinking. You need a word from the Lord. You need a word from the Lord. You see, we're living in a day the husbands are cheating on their wives. Wives are cheating on their husband. When you find out your wife is cheating or your husband cheating, you need a word. You need a word that's going to comfort you, encourage you, and strengthen you to know that through it all, as Job said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. You have to have a word to know that God will never leave you. There's a website called Alfonso Coble at sbcglobal.net.